What's up everybody, Ben here, back with another Project Cars 2 video. Yesterday we got the 488 Challenge Ferrari from the 1.5 update. I've been testing it out a little bit and I thought I would do a race setup video for it. So a lot of people are probably going to run this car at Monza, so I decided what better place to test it. If you like this video, please be sure to hit that like button, and if you want to see more content like this, please subscribe to my channel. Alright, let's get into it. Alright, so this is the race setup I'm going with here in Monza for the 488 Challenge. I'm doing this during kind of a summertime. The ambient temp and the track temp are pretty high, 36C on the ambient, 56 on the track. The tire this car runs is a Pirelli Slick. It's probably a different compound than what's on the GT3 car. It's not quite clear exactly what pressures this works at. I would guess probably around 1.8 to 1.9 bar, somewhat similar, but without any documentation on that, it's hard to tell. With the higher temp, I can reach up to those pretty quickly, so I lowered the pressures down from the stock setting, but I kept the front and rear pretty much the same. For a longer race, you might need to lower the rear a bit more. This is a bit of a tail-happy car, so you'll heat the rear tires up quickly. Again, for a somewhat medium distance race, 10 to 15 laps, brake cooling isn't too much of an issue. You want to make sure that the brakes get into and stay in the working range, so pretty conservative on the brake ducts. If you're going to go much longer than that, though, you might need to open them up some more. But for Monza, we really have a lot of long straights where we're going to get a lot of good cooling, and we don't want drag down those. Brake pressure, I left pretty much standard. The thing about the brakes is they were very biased towards the rear early on, so I shifted them forwards. Under braking, this car is going to squirm around a bit, and it feels a little rear biased on the brakes even when I shift them forwards. I don't like it moving around in the braking, so I've moved it to 59 and 41. You can adjust it to whatever feels right for you. On downforce, we're at Monza, so not a high downforce circuit, pretty low downforce circuit. You want straight line speed. I've gone with 0 on the front and 1 on the rear. This car out of the box felt very understeery, and a lot of that was down to the aerodynamics. You might add a little bit more rear downforce if you're a little uncomfortable with how much it moves at this level, but I found it to be pretty stable and wasn't spinning on me, so it should be possible to run this setup in a race. For the suspension, unfortunately, we don't have a lot of options. The cambers, I've left stock. I changed the steering ratio a bit to my liking. I took out some of the rear toe angle, actually all of the rear toe angle, to help the understeer. So this car felt understeery early on. I took out the rear toe and it helped it out a lot. On exit, it's gonna wiggle around a bit. You just have to control it with the throttle. Unfortunately, we can't adjust the ride height very much. I lowered the rear just a bit. This is because I don't want to high rake down the straights. But that's as low as it'll go, so we still keep 30 millimeters of rake in there. Spring rates, again, you can't really adjust them. If anything, I'd probably want to give more grip to the front, so I lowered the front spring rate a bit, but that's as low as it'll go, basically one click down. So I compensated a bit more with the anti-roll bar. So yeah, it makes the car understeer less, but you just need to be careful about the oversteer on the throttle. Dampers, this car didn't really like bumps when I tested it, so I touched the fast rebounds. I lowered them a bit, but you can't go much lower than that, so that's about where it's going to stay. Cooling is a huge problem with this car. A lot of cars you can get away with running 50% radiator opening or lower. Not this car, especially if it's hot outside. 70% is probably the minimum I would do for a 10 to 15 lap race. If it's hotter than this, you're going to need to open it up more, maybe 75 or 80%. This car runs really, really hot, and if you close the radiator off too much, it's going to start wearing the engine a lot very quickly, and you're going to start to lose horsepower. For engine braking, I put it all the way to 6. That's the highest value, which means the least engine braking. I don't like a lot of engine braking. I feel it makes the car unstable, especially like on turn-in or on partial throttle through a corner. So this is personal preference. I think the default was 4, so not a huge change. There's not really any adjustment you can do with the gear ratios. We have a 7-speed though, so you have a pretty good wide range for many different circuits. So it doesn't really need to be touched at all, and in fact you can't do much with it. Traction control. The traction control in the 488 always felt very restrictive, so I opened it up to 12%. It's a little bit oversteery, but it still cuts in a lot over curves, so you might need to tweak this. You could close it down to like 11 or 10 if you really have trouble controlling it on the throttle. On the differential, I left the power the same. On power, you're getting quite a bit of oversteeriness, but it's controllable. You can hold the slides, so I left it where it is. If you need to, you could close it down a bit. For the coast and off throttle, I actually opened this up. It started at like a default of 40 degrees. I went up to 55. This is because of turn-in understeer, so I felt like the car was just not turning in for me. So again, I've been working to mediate that understeer. So this is the setup I'm going with. Obviously this is kind of specific to Monza with the downforce levels, but could easily be adapted to other circuits like the Red Bull Ring. Alright, so let's get on to the lap. So there we have it. We were able to do a 147.7 with that setup, and with a little bit of practice, I'm sure we can go even faster. That setup will work for probably a medium distance race, and you can tweak it to work for something longer if you needed to. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to hit that like button, and as always, make sure you subscribe to the channel for more content. See you in the next video, and I hope you have a good day.